Our Bible word is John 3, verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. So here's the evangelist describing the manner how God loved the world, that he gave Jesus. And yeah, we also, our larger pericope is chapter 3. That's where it refers to the Son from above. And part and parcel of our pericope is John's special use of language. As I sit here, I feel so inadequate to give a proper explanation of John's language because it's so rich. John's Greek is of the most simplest Greek, and his sentence construction, grammar is of the simplest. But the meaning in his language is so deep, it's so multifaceted, it's so layered, that any explanation here, it will take hours to go through everything because it's so rich, it's so multi-layered. One cannot, I feel inadequate to explain it properly to you. That's why I would encourage you, go immerse yourself in John's gospel, because it's a mystical gospel, it's a spiritual gospel. It's very deep and profound. And simple language communicates deep and profound truths that we cannot cover in a few minutes in this video. So be aware of this language that John uses. And why does he use this language? Well, we can call it insider language. And this insider language, it relates to the special insight and knowledge that is communicated. You belong to a special group, maybe a club, or whatever it may be, and you have your own language, your own phrases, your own terms, your own lingo. And those who are inside will get it. They will know the language. Others outside, they won't get the language. They say, what are you talking? What did you say? What did you mean? So the same thing is going on here in this interaction between Jesus and Nicodemus. Jesus and the Johannine Christians, in other words, those Christians John wrote for, probably in Asia Minor in the 90s, probably in Ephesus, they were part of the Christian group, and of course, they were like this group who had their own language, because they had special knowledge and insight into who Jesus is. And that's communicated through their language. Those on the outside don't get it. Yeah, Nicodemus is an outsider. He comes to Jesus at night, and Jesus tells him, well, you must be born again. So this insider language. So of course, the Johannine community, also as Christians, we are invited to go nudge, nudge, wink, wink. You know, we understand what Jesus means. Nicodemus as an outsider now. Later on, he would become a disciple. But for now, he's an outsider. He's a potential disciple. He's not part of the inner group. He doesn't get the lingo yet. He doesn't understand the Johannine community, this Christian community's lingo, their special language, where Jesus says you must be born again. So nudge, nudge, wink, wink. What does that mean? Well, for those in the know, it means you must be born again. In other words, you can't rely on your Jewish heritage. You must come to the special place where God has revealed himself and given special knowledge that's with Jesus, who comes from above, the divine Son, the Logos. You must participate in the spiritual life, this divine life that Jesus brought, this special knowledge that is brought. And because this is also a double meaning, this word, be born again. At the same time, you can also translate it as you must be born from above. Because Jesus is from above. He's the divine Son. Those who believe in Jesus, they are born of the Spirit. They are the Father's children. They are also from above, so to speak, now, because they have received the Spirit and live in the realm of the Spirit. So Jesus tells Nicodemus, you must be born again. At the same time, Jesus also is saying you must be born from above. In other words, become God's child in a special sense. So, of course, Nicodemus, who's not this insider, who doesn't understand the lingo, of course he says, huh? Must be born again. I'm an old man. How does that work? And of course, Jesus explains, now what's born of flesh is flesh, what's born of spirit is spirit. This confusion of Nicodemus also comes through if you go to verse 12, where Jesus tells him, if I have told you earthly things and you do not believe, how will you believe if I tell you heavenly things? In other words, Nicodemus, he doesn't understand yet what Jesus is saying. He does not believe it yet because he doesn't understand it. So if you don't get this, then obviously he's an outsider. He's not part of the inner group of Jesus' followers who understands the special language. Because the special language is also what's used here, as Jesus says, the wind blows where it wills. You don't know where it comes from, where it's going, but you can hear it. It's there, it's real. In a similar way, those who are born of the Spirit, God's Spirit, it's mysterious. You cannot see it, but it's there, it's real. But only the initiated, those who know, those who have knowledge and insight, they will know what Jesus is talking about. They will feel the Spirit, live in the Spirit, because they are the ones born of the Spirit. And of course, this is type of language that Nicodemus does not understand yet. Now, if we go to the next verses, especially from verses 13 to 21, here we find the teaching or the commentary of the beloved disciple. And again, here, the beloved disciple, he uses metaphors, symbolism, irony, double meanings, this insider language, and also theological dualism and other things to explain Jesus and the Johannine community. For example, all of this basically comes together there where Jesus says in verse 14, and as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up. Again, here is a metaphor. Jesus is like this bronze serpent who is lifted up. There's also symbolism because it symbolizes the crucifixion. There's also irony because Jesus being lifted up at the same time means that he will be glorified. At the same time, it means he will be crucified. In other words, brought down to the lowest of the low and humiliated, by all accounts being defeated. But it's Jesus being glorified. It's Jesus being lifted up. It's full of irony. It's also double meaning because Jesus being lifted up is him being glorified. It's him being crucified. This is part of the insider language of John's gospel. And also he uses theological dualism. In this, if you go read verses 13 to 21, there's this comparison between the children of light and the children of darkness. It's these children of light who have this special language. In other words, the special knowledge and insight that they have about Jesus. Because they believe in the Son. Right? The Son is divine. He's the Logos. He's come from the Father. These children of light, they walk in the light. They live by the truth. They have eternal life already now. They will never perish. They are born from above or born again. It's special kind of language and terms that the evangelist uses. On the other hand, those on the outside, in other words, those who do not believe in Jesus. Remember in John, there's this big clash. There's the followers of Moses who reject Jesus. And of course, then there's the followers of Jesus because he's more important than Moses. So, but those on the outside, the followers of Moses, etc., they reject the Son because as a children of darkness, they also walk in darkness. They follow lies, are condemned already. They abide in God's wrath, are from the earth or from flesh. So the exact opposite or antithesis of what the children of light are. So remember this, verses 13 to 21 here is the evangelist's commentary. He gives further elaboration on who Jesus is and on those who recognize Jesus. This special group of people who have special knowledge and insight. And of course, the special language that they use to communicate that knowledge and insight. And look out for this contrast. The children of light versus the children of darkness. And part of this dualism is our Bible word. If we read there, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Also understand this sentence is qualitative rather than quantitative. Okay, let me explain it better. Qualitative, the meaning of it is, this is how God loved the world. How did God love the world? He gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. So in other words, it's a qualitative statement. It explains how God loved the world. How did he love the world? He gave his Son. And now comes the important part also, that whoever believes in him, remember the children of light, they believe in Jesus. Whoever believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life. And it also goes on here, it says that God did not send his Son into the world to condemn it, but to save it. Also, those who recognize Jesus, they come to the light. They do deeds of truth. Those who do not come to Jesus, they stay in darkness, because what they're doing is the lie. Remember these contrasts. Remember these profound words in John. Life, truth, light, often mentioned in the gospel. There's profound meaning. The children of the light recognize these terms. They live in the light. They live in the truth. They have life already because they believe in Jesus. There's also this aspect of realized eschatology. In other words, the life of the future age or the age of salvation, they already have that future life here and now in the present because they believe in Jesus. So remember when you read John, especially also this pericope here of John's elaboration or his commentary, also the whole of John, also chapter 3, everywhere, this rich language. It's everywhere he uses these metaphors, the symbolism, irony, double meanings, this insider language, and also theological dualism to explain Jesus and the Johannine community. So look out also specifically for this dualism in John's Gospel, where the children of light are compared with the children of darkness. Importantly, those who believe in the Son, already here now, they have life and they will not perish. Compared to those negatively who do not believe in Jesus, and they're already condemned, so to speak, in the present, and they don't have life. But as God's people, we believe here and now we have life already. Already now we live in the truth. Already here and now we have eternal life and we live in the light.